All right. Hello, YouTube and Facebook. We are live.
Hello, greetings.
I guess I can do the intro. So this is a bit of a unique session. We are going over the prototype for the project tracker, which hopefully part of this will also be involved with coming up with a better name. But this is something that we've been sort of talking off and on about, and people have, asked about something similar in one degree or another in the Facebook group. I would say probably 3 to 5 times at least. So are there any questions before we get started and do screen sharing? And
is it okay if I put the link to the website on the screen?
Yeah, sure. That makes sense, so people can follow along.
How long has this been in the works? How long have you been working on it?
Like the actual prototype, maybe 2 weeks. Like
Okay.
I technically added the objects longer than that, but it was barely started then. So effectively, yeah, I'd say about 2 weeks.
Okay.
It is built on the knack platform, which means it's not coded. It's kind of, a drag and drop, what you see is what you get style editor. There's definitely going to be some features that, people might ask for that we just can't build or that I don't know how to build. So this is kind of meant to be a proof of concept that's meant to get us as close to this as possible. We're seeing some benefits out of it. And then ideally enough till we actually get some users using it so people understand what we're trying to do, and then we can move into an actual coded version. Hey, and Bentley's here. I'll add him.
This is a prototype.
Exactly, this is a prototype. All right, Bentley here. Bentley, did you want to add anything before we get started with the screen sharing?
Did you already give updates? Are we even doing that today? I can't remember now.
That's tomorrow's updates on our individual projects.
Okay.
Today's just the knack.
Yeah.
Wiki election together.
And then, the only thing is, if we have enough time after the knack one, there's another prototype I was hoping to show about the patio video chat stuff. So
cool.
If we have time.
Cool.
Yeah,
Let's
I don't
do
think
it.
this will take super long. Okay. So I won't really be able to see the screen while I'm screen sharing because I'm just on a single screen laptop. So, feel free to shout or anything if I'm missing something important or.
So am I supposed to be able to click on this link that's in the thing? Can you put it in the chat?
You won't need to because I'll be
okay.
screen sharing, and I can actually, here 1 second,
Awesome.
let me share my screen, and then we can switch the way that this is arranged. We're going to actually have to do some sharing and then unsharing and then resharing just because I'm on a Chromebook and don't have a ton of this. So let me switch. Oh, we already did that. Perfect. So we're looking at the public version first. I'm in an incognito tab because I'm actually logged in Chrome. So this is how it'll look if you just go and view the prototype without logging in. It's going to start you off on the homepage, which has got a really rough description of the different pages available. The homepage, in theory, should end up having sort of the most used features, things that will relate to the other pages. And then you've got your 2 tabs up here, projects and events, with sort of some sub-pages to each. So under projects, project directory. This is a list of all the projects that have been submitted, and these are only ones that are being marked as public. So there's actually more in the back end. I think I want to say about 2 months ago now, we did an ask of the GameB projects community to say, hey, can you go to this form and enter in your project so that we, as we're building something like this, we have a list of projects to work from. So I made the ones public that either are projects of people who are actually, involved in Together Tech or GameB projects or have done a project raising. So there are more in the back end. They just aren't public yet. With each one, I'll use Wiki Election because that's the one with the most sort of information available. You can view more information about the project. And again, this is made so you don't have to log in to see this. So anybody can just go and view, what projects are public, what they're up to, that kind of thing. So we're looking at the page for Wiki Election. You can see the basic information like the project name, what category that's been put into, the short intro, which is kind of just meant to be a single, sentence, so, probably 10 words or less describing what it does. And then if you've got a longer version, you can put that in the description. And then, of course, links to the various channels. With all this, it's really easy to add fields. So if there's For example, if we end up with a bunch of projects that have Patreons, we can add an option here for Patreon, and then people can store their links. So there's active project members, where this is, currently I'm the only one there. It says I'm the product owner. It says I'm the only sort of member who's a part of it. You can view more there. This is a very simple page. Again, we can add more there if needed. The help needed section is one of the, I think, more useful areas. So this is meant to be, if you go to the list of projects and you view a project that sounds interesting, that project can then say, hey, I need help in these areas. And so here, WikiLection is saying that we need help with sort of communications in the social media area. There's probably a bunch more that I should be adding, but this is just as an example. And then there's, again, more information about this help needed post where it's saying, hey, we need some help posting content regularly on multiple channels to help build an audience. And as with everything else, we can, tweak this to make sure that, like, if Bentley wants to ask for help with reason score, and there's something missing that he would need to add in order to ask for help, that's a part of what we're looking for feedback on, is to make sure that project owners feel that there's enough here that they can actually use it to indicate the areas that they need help. And then underneath, we have the two different event areas. There's upcoming events. So you can see here, there's the WikiLection live stream for tomorrow. It's got the public URL. So again, if you had, things scheduled in the future, this could be a spot where you can just go to that page. You'll see later, this is also listed somewhere else. So it just makes it easy to see what all the different projects have scheduled and be able to join from here. We are also tracking on the back end what the panelist URL is. So if people sign up for events to actually, join as a panelist where they're, using their webcam and microphone, they'll have that URL available if they've been registered. And then finally, we have the completed events, which mostly makes sense for things like live streams, because the public URL turns into this, streaming later URL. So if this was a topic you were interested in, you can go view it there. Those last two aren't terribly important on the project page, but they're still there so you can see it. It's more useful when you're just seeing a list of all the events, so you can see sort of what's coming up and what's happened in the past. And again, same kinds of information available. The other area under projects is for help needed. And so this is just a list of all the different help needed posts that the different projects have made. So right now there's only one from WikiLection. If we went to, let's say, reason score, and Bentley had added something under help needed, then under the help needed page, you would actually see two posts, one from WikiLection and one from reason score. Where of course the goal here is to say, hey, here's, the 5 or 10 areas that some people across all these different projects are looking for help. And as it gets into, a lot more, we can start to add filters and give people the ability to say, hey, show me, either what kind of like sense-making projects need help, or you can do something like show me who needs help with marketing, because that's what I'm good at, that kind of thing. And then it's going to look the same as if you were to view it on the project page. It's just a different way to see a list sort of across all the projects. Does this make sense so far?
Yeah, it looks good.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So the second part to the public view is the events. So there are scheduled events where these are things that are actually, in theory, definitely going to happen. It's split into two sections. One is project events. So just like it sounds, these are events that are linked to a project. Same as before, if Reason Score had a live stream or an event published, you would see all the events across all the different projects that are scheduled in the future. There's some amount of sort of time zone translation here. So we can see, that it's happening at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. GMT or UTC, or whatever we want to call it. And it's expected to be around an hour. And again, the link to join. And then the other part are the events that aren't linked to a project. So that's going to be, things like possibly idea cafes, or just something where you're trying to get buy-in from multiple people to say, yep, I would show up to that, as a panelist. So it's not just one person talking. You're kind of trying to get buy-in from people. But these are topics that are confirmed as, yep, we got the minimum number of people. This should be happening. And then under events, you've got proposed events, which these are meant to be the events that people are saying, hey, I'm interested in talking about this. Here's the time. I'm interested in talking at the duration and time zone stuff again. And then again, you can see how many people are confirmed. So when you're signed in as a member, you'll be able to say, I want to go to that. And then after we hit a certain number, it can it can get moved from the proposed to the scheduled list. So does that make sense for the public view?
Yep.
Okay. Perfect. So now let me, actually, I guess I'll go back here and stop sharing for a second.
Yeah, I'd gone in and put, there was already, I think you had a stub in there for reason score. I went in and filled out a few of the things. I didn't get to the events or the requesting people. I might go ahead and do that. But it seems usable. And then if we want to go forward, we might just figure out how we want to post about it. Because a couple people keep kind of asking for this sort of thing when they come in. But maybe we should hear what Jubilee and Susan think.
Totally. And there is still the member area, but if there is anything to note on the public sort of before we switch hats, you can get that.
And go to the back end.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think, did I get an email invite?
I think I do still need to do some testing and figure out how the emails go out after you're approved. You have been approved. I didn't add the stub article for you because I wasn't sure exactly how you wanted to sort of spell or arrange the two-row flow commons. I wasn't sure.
Oh, yeah.
Exact naming. So all
two and then row and then flow all together.
Okay.
Cultural commons.
Cultural commons. Okay. Yeah. I had it mostly right.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm just checking again to see if there was a way I could. I can't put in events. I was under the events page or under solution raising events. It doesn't seem to be an option to add it.
That's what we're going to go over next. So the member area isn't ideal. It's kind of a part of the restriction in NAC. There's multiple ways you can do it. This seemed to be the better way. So we'll go through it. And if it's, completely offensive, then we can look at some other ways of doing it. So now we're looking at if you're logged in. And it looks very much the same. You've got home, projects, events. That's all exactly the same. The only thing different is you have a new tab called Member Area. If you click on Member Area, oh, I see that image isn't loading anymore. That's fun. It's just a screenshot saying to use this section here. So the idea is that when you log in, you go to Member Area, and now all of the things that sort of you can do as a member are in this gray bar here. So you can go to your account settings and do your basic, changing your email and password and stuff like that. You can go to your My Projects. So I've only got the one project. You can hit View and sort of see how it looks. Or if you actually want to change something, you can go there, hit Edit. And then, you can do things like saying, actually, I don't want to publish it. Or by default, if you submitted your project in the past, when you sign up for a member account, and I notice it's you, I'll actually assign that to you. So you might already have one when you pop in. It'll default to not being published. You can say yes. And then it will show up when somebody who's, a member of the public and hasn't logged in, they'll be able to go to the project directory and see your project if it's set to published. And then everything else is just the details that we saw on that page. We probably do need to do some more categories. I think sense making and education are the only two I have in there right now. We can add those quite easily. But for the ones that I had in the prototype, those seem to be the most common.
Culture.
Oh, okay.
Culture.
That's a good one.
I honestly don't know what solution raising is. I'm like, solutions?
Yeah.
Process? I don't
probably
really
have a couple different groups of categories where we'll have to figure it out to, have it make sense. It's more important that sort of it works for project owners, that you feel that generally sort of somewhat decently categorizes the project, and then it also makes sense for the potential, volunteers to show up, and it makes sense that that's how they would structure the, projects that they might be interested in helping out with.
Yeah, so you need to talk to people and do card sorting.
Right.
Figure out
exactly
what is the dominant words events that
To
people
do that, I need to get people involved.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's hopefully what this will come out with. And I would love your help on that because it sounds like you're a hell of a lot more experienced when it comes to that kind of thing. I have some experience, just not for the last 5 or 10 years.
Okay. Yeah.
So this is built so you could be the owner of multiple projects, and then you can go in and view each one. If you want to add a project, there's just the add project button, and then you've got your basic stuff here. And then after it's added, you'll be the one that owns it. Right now, it's just one user per project. You're essentially the owner of that project record in the database, so you'll be the one who can see it, and you control if it's published or not. And then from here, from view, you can do things like add project roles, where project roles are made to either say who is working on it, where you can say like, yep, they're active and they're actually doing it, and you can pick the member and so on, or you can say we need help, and then it shows up in the help needed section. So it's kind of meant for both. Not the most usable, but it's what we have for now. Under project roles, that's the actual roles that you have in a project. So of course, in this case, I have a role as a product owner in Wiki Election. If I were helping out on Reason Score with something, I might also have a project role here for Reason Score. I wouldn't have Reason Score under my projects because I don't own it, but I can at least go there and change like the information available in things I don't own the project, but I control, like for example, if I wasn't working on a project anymore, I might be able to deactivate my project role. But for now, that's mostly on the project owner side. But we do have a spot that we are able to, give people access to change their project roles if they feel so inclined. If you were going to be volunteering on projects and you didn't have a project of your own, the My Projects page would be empty, and then your project roles page will have every role that you play across possibly multiple projects, right? So if you were volunteering with 3 projects, you'd have 3 project roles and no projects. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. And then finally, we have the My Events. And there is the My Events, where those, again, are the events that you own. So it's similar to the projects where one user can sort of add an event and keep it up to date with things as they change. You can see I have 2, one's in the past, one's in the future. And then if you sign up for an event and you have a role and it's sort of, you aren't the owner, but you want to be able to, for example, say, actually, no, I'm not coming, or if there's some amount of back and forth and being able to control how and when and if you're, interacting with an event that you don't own, that's done under event invitations. So,
and is the event invitations the ones that I've said, yes, I'm watching, yes, I'm participating in, yes, I'm running it, or all of the
participating? Participating or running it, technically, it would show up here. And then if you're watching it, you don't need to register. You can just go to the scheduled events and click there to watch it. And it's more, if in the future people want to be able to sort of like bookmark things, so that, if we end up with a bunch of events and people want to be able to say, oh, that sounds interesting, I want to see that in sort of a separate list of things that I've curated for myself, we can build that. But then under events also, there's the ability to add events there. So for the times, for right now, everything is entered in Pacific time, then the other fields are calculated, right? So it just says the Eastern time is just the Pacific time plus 3 hours, and GMT is the Pacific time plus 8 hours. And then if, there's some need to have the end time, we can also calculate, take the start time, add the duration to it, and that's your end time. I figured that having start time and duration is probably enough for now, but we can tweak that as needed.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you'll be able to keep up with the differences between GMT and PT. You might just take that out and make people... We might be able to do an automated link to one of the time and date websites that'll give them
possibly, yeah. And
not be too hard.
Yeah, if this ends up being unwieldy, then yeah, we can totally do it. Each one is a separate one. So like if we're saying, that GMT just changes at a different time, it can be a pain, but it's just going in and changing one field on the back end to say, oh, now it's, it's +7 instead of +8.
And then a week later, changing it back.
Yeah. Well, but it would only be, you would change it like
2 weeks.
when North America does it, you'd probably change PT, or I guess PT you wouldn't, but you would change Eastern time. And actually you wouldn't, because PT wouldn't. Yeah, so I think the only thing that would be weird is GMT, because they changed their clocks at a different time.
It's a couple weeks different, yeah.
Yeah,
between
so
the
it
two.
would just be that. But I agree, yeah, it's a bit messy, and
I guess
if
also
there is a better
then
way to do it.
You'll have a problem because if the date's in the future, then some will be in the future during the change, some won't. That's why it might be good just to take it off for now, because it won't be right.
True.
Luckily,
yeah.
I think they've all now changed over, and we have until fall. And who knows what the world looks like in fall, right?
True.
Because
Yeah, if there is
Europe and Australia and North America have all changed their clocks. We're good until the fall. And that is a decade away in COVID-19 time.
Very true. Yeah, and this is just meant to be sort of, again, part of the prototype. I find that most people are pretty good at knowing how to convert their own time zone. So people get used to like, oh, okay, it's noon Pacific. That's a Pacific is a fairly standard one, so hopefully people will know how to convert it.
Mm-hmm.
But if we can sort of make this work more gracefully, then I think it's helpful to be able to just glance at a column and say, oh, okay, that's 8 p.m. my time, cool. Especially if you have people from various time zones, although I guess they all have to enter them in Pacific time anyway, so that's kind of moot. But I think that's about it to show for the prototype so far. So you have your public version with projects and events, and then your member account. You go to member area. It's the gray bar up here, and you can change your own account, your project, the roles you play in a project, and your events.
That works out fairly well. The only thing I would maybe suggest during this time period, which if I'd thought about it, maybe I should have waited to add solution raising, is to have somebody add a project or do that during this time. But maybe we could do that on a different video and upload it just so people know how they can add their projects to it themselves. I did it and it was fairly intuitive. And if I can do it,
Right,
even though I hate Slack and I hate Discord and I hate certain other things, it's fairly user-friendly. So
yeah, and I fully understand people have some reluctance to sign up for yet another member account. I'm 100% understandable of that. But at this point, there is the ability to have some sort of single sign-on, but it seems to be like for companies. So it's got like Facebook and Google, but it's meant if like you're all a part of the same domain, which we aren't at the moment, then that won't work. So for now, you do have to have a member account. From the write-up on the NAC website, they're supposed to be fairly secure. They have like a pretty detailed page on their security methodologies. So we'll see how it works out. Probably go back to not sharing.
Good work.
Thank you. If you guys have any questions about that, either in the session or anyone watching, feel free to reach out. And as I think I sort of hinted at the beginning, I think Susan had signed up for an account. I have to go in there and approve it. Right now, I don't think after it's approved, I don't think it sends them an email. So like now, I don't think Susan was notified, but now you can go in there and use your account and you'll be able to sign in and add projects and whatnot. So that's a part of what I'll have to do at some point is actually go and add the alerts for when they're set to active.
Right. And therefore generates an email. Is that
right? Exactly, because it does generate an email to me to let me know that somebody registered. It's just when I go in there and set them as active, there's no email back to you saying, "Hey, that user account you asked for, it's active now."
Yeah, that's really important because I find in a lot of the UX stuff that I've done that there's this initial, yes, I want to do it. And then if there's a delay, even of sometimes a few hours, especially if it's a day, people just don't even respond.
Totally. Yeah.
Fun, right?
Yeah, I understand. Which I might, if it's easy to change, I might just take off the need for activation until it becomes a problem. Like it's really only meant if, there's people in there that for some reason we don't want in there, or people are spamming it, then I can go in there and turn it on. But that's actually probably a better thing to do.
So now we can invite people in the GameB projects group to come and add their own, and they have to go through the same process Susan did, right, of requesting it, and then
yeah. And if they
don't have a project,
If they don't have a project, they can still sign up. There's sort of two different views for like if you have a project versus if you don't. I've got a way on the back end to note who's a project owner. It's mostly the same. I think it just it won't show you projects, but like you can still have events. You can still have project roles. You can still manage your member account. One of the ways that still needs improvement, one of the things that still needs improvement is if you're a member, like going to an event, being able to sort of sign up for an event easily and see if you're signed up. But everything else, there's ways to go at it, and you can see your event roles and add them now. It's just not the most intuitive. It would be better to have a list of events. You can go to the event and see here's who signed up. Oh, I'm signed up. That kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, if we have several people using this, and we do have like anything, right? If it's only the three of us, there's no point. But if there are four of us, I guess, using it, and only the four of us, it won't be much point. But if we have multiple people using it, put in events, and we can see what events are going on and find out what common events we want to have, it can be a very, very useful tool. So thank you for making it as a beta. See if it does in fact get some.
Yeah, I mean, clearly you're building for the future. So building so that also making sure that people who don't have projects but are interested in helping out, that's a clear distinction. Otherwise, they might.
And that's why there's like a fair amount to the public portions. People who just want to kick tires, they can show up, see projects, see who needs help, see the events. Yeah. And you could even just use that to manage the events, like to just go there, see what's going on. Oh, that sounds cool. Click to view, that kind of thing.
The thing with the only other fields that you might add to the actual project information itself would be perhaps something about when it started, like and some sort of a timeline, some sort of indication of where you are with respect to what you're doing. And
that's true. Yeah, I can add that.
That might be useful.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be optional, so we can stick it on there. You can fill it out if you want to. If not, it can be on there and empty. Not the end of the world.
So if we like it, maybe we should go ahead and kind of figure out where on Facebook we want to, in the group, to kind of make it visible. So
sure. I would say before we make it visible, I'd want there to be more projects than just WikiLection with some information. So like if you want to go in there and add an event and or a help needed, just so that if somebody's poking around, like once we launch it, then they can see like, oh, okay, there's 2 or 3 projects in here asking for help and having events, and like, cool, you can see the early days of what it is going to look like if we get 10 or 20 or 50 active projects.
Yeah, I can definitely add 2 needed people, and then maybe Jubilee can get in and put our regular occurring events or something.
That'd be great. And then again, if there's any fields or like if there's a value in a field that you need, please just you can reach out directly on Facebook, and I can go in there and add it pretty quickly.
So I'm just trying to picture on where on the Facebook group we want to post it. So we could add it to the pinned post, although we might need to clean that up a bit to make room. I don't know if there's any other place we want to put it.
I think a pinned post makes sense. I'm wondering if once we get sort of some decent sample data, possibly even just from us, if we want to do like a single, a one-time cross post like in the GameB homepage, or like, ask Jim if we can be like, hey, because now that kind of starts to bridge the gap of if you don't have a project but you want to help with a project. Yeah. Now that can be interesting to you.
And I think they said periodic updates from the individual groups is actually desired. So I think that's good.
Yeah, I think this bigger meta project update is very, GameB main group focus.
Yeah, that's really important too, because when I first came in, I just went to the main GameB page and hung out there for a while, but then I want to do something. I want to build something. So then I found your page, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And one of the things I hinted at in the beginning, definitely open to better names than Project Tracker, because that's, it's kind of descriptive, but also kind of vague. Because I know that one of the posts was sort of was more thinking, think the person who posted thought that it was meant to track kind of like the GameB projects is in like the separate pages, and they're like, why wouldn't I just use the GameB homepage? And I was like, okay, it's not those, it's these. And then they understood after it was explained, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of how to clarify that.
but you know,
Because yeah, they can definitely think of each Facebook page as a project, but really those are
They
communities.
could be in there, but also
Yeah.
they don't have that's not the point of,
Right.
and they're not the only ones.
So
Yeah,
maybe,
and also we can post it on online tools, which is specifically for
true,
like this,
true.
right?
so maybe
Definitely.
something like emerging GameB projects.
Yeah, we once it gets mature enough, we might want to ask the wiki about like updating the projects page to point there. Be like, oh, hey, if you want this, that used to be here, go here instead, because that's the new home for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the wiki, did it ever come back up?
Oh, is it down? I haven't.
It was
I've
down
been
for
looking
a
at
couple
that in
weeks.
ages. Okay, so that might be moved in.
The wiki group itself, I think, fell apart a bit. So I don't know.
As projects will do.
And one of the things that I think will end up being an issue / question is just like which projects. How do we explain if you have a project, is it applicable to join this group or is it like to game A? I think most of the people here err on the side of just join and we'll see if there's like,
Exactly.
oh, you know, you're trying to buy and sell slaves. Okay, no, not you. You don't get to join. Most groups,
I
as
was
long as
trying to
you're
think of a good game A example. That one's perfect.
That was very, very game A minus.
Marketplace for human slaves, human trafficking.
not allowed.
And I mean, there's going to be some that, like your even if you have like a local food grocery store, how do like it has to be pretty game B for it not to be for it to fit in there, especially if it's local. Like, is it? Although maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's
then
if
you
you have
can-
one of the like game B kind of pillars, like if it's omni-win, if it's anti-rivalrous, like if
Exactly. So you can create some sort of information that goes with it, right? And it's sort of a checklist. Do you feel that you fall into these categories, which sort of broadly describe what a game B project is? If so, make sure you join up. If not, maybe you could pivot.
Yeah, and I would probably err on the side of like making a list that's kind of meant to be a, hey, here are some examples, and not going too hard on the, if you're this kind of project, go away, we don't want you.
Of course.
Or here's what we do want, and then if we have people join up who have, the Craigslist for slaves, we're like, okay, we probably should have said no slavery. Maybe we'll add that to the list.
Oops, our bad.
And
And I do think that, a little bit we go with it until we get someone who isn't. Then we're like, wait, what was it about this one that wasn't, that was so game A or so not? That's sometimes easier rather than thinking of everything could possibly be. Like I just said about the food co-op, right?
Yeah.
Maybe there is one that's absolutely perfectly suitable that is.
If you think that yours is a command and control sort of game, we're not really interested. Yeah.
Right. Do we want
to move on to yours, Bentley, or are we done with the
sure.
project tracker? All right.
This is the first time I screen shared on.
All right, I was going to say it can.
So this one.
Oh, wait. I think we have to add it to the.
Oh,
there we go. Okay, we're good.
Permission. Speaking of command and control, no.
Us, for the fascists.
Yeah. So this is actually not the one I wanted to show, but who was working on this site? This is one of the options. So this is Jonas, his site that he created to kind of help us kind of have discussions. So you would go in here and type in your name, and then it shows up like these are rooms where things can be happening, or you could start a new one, which I haven't tried. Which is actually, he's got a really nice design here. So let's join the ALUNJOGI. These are all tests. Oh, so yeah, yeah. So I think he's still kind of working on this, apparently. I just have oh, nope, something's popping up. I haven't played with this. It's probably video and it's not working because I'm already using my camera.
Yeah, makes sense.
And what is this built in, Bentley? Is this
I
NAC?
don't know actually.
Okay.
No, it's not. It's not NAC. He's using React as the framework, but I don't know what he's using.
JavaScript,
Yeah, stuff like that.
hard coded. So this is not a drag and drop thing. This is
Right. Yeah.
template.
This is he's doing development, straight up
Okay.
development. So that was kind of an idea to have rooms where you could then join, and later we were gonna try and limit the number of participants, and I guess you could have topics based on the room name. And oh yeah, so you can delete rooms. Anyway, so that's where he is on that one, which is kind of starting. Jubilee's initial concept, and correct me if I'm wrong, was that, or well, no, we talked about several different things. One of them was kind of a scheduling system to where you could put in your available time, and it would let you know when a group of like 3 or 4 people had overlapping available hours. Was one of the options we discussed. That's not one of the options that I have. But the other option, which fits also what shoot, I've forgotten his name now. Yeah, Nick was saying that you would have a place where you could see all the different rooms, see who's in them, and then participate, which is very similar to what Jonas was working on. This is one. This is called Kiko Chat, and it actually has a lot of features. It's a fully fledged community space, especially built for moderators, community moderators and stuff. But this one is their prototype called the Gardens, and I actually have one that I created called the Patio, because that's what Nick was calling it. But you can see that you can join the video, the main room you're in, or you can go down and look at these other rooms. Right now there's 3 people in the central garden where we are, and then you can go into any of the other rooms and change the topics to say what you want to talk about. So if I enter this, I should have entered one I could actually read the name of. Yeah.
And Kiko Chat is KIKO?
QIQO.
Oh, right.
CHAT.com. And there's a lot of features in here. Like you can see there's a live chat over here for this whole circle, which would be for all the rooms and the whole kind of community. And then you can go into any group, and then you can hit this join the video, and then you would be kind of in the video room. They also have like collaborative editing documents and event schedules and lots of different stuff that we could go over. But this just seemed to fit exactly what Nick was talking about. Is where you could see what people are in what rooms and join them and see what they're talking about. It doesn't have like a preview of the actual video screen, which is one feature.
Is there a limit to the number of people that can be in the video room?
It uses Zoom in the back end, so
nice.
Theoretically.
Wow.
Now, so the pricing model for this is if you build there's quite a few pricing models. Like he has one where, well, I put it this way, you can actually charge people to join. It's billed in 3-month increments. You can set it to whatever amount you want. He then charges that central like owner of the site a number of cents per minute of video per person, which is he actually just bills you for the Zoom costs. So he's not making any profit off this. So that's what Zoom charges in the back if you're using the system. So if you charge everyone $3 a month, or it'd be $9 for 3 months as the minimum billing cycle, then each person could do about 10 hours of video before you start going into the red. I was thinking if we wanted to, we talked about
10 hours over 3 months or 1 month?
Over a month.
Okay.
Well, 10 hours per month or 30 hours in 3 months. Yeah.
Okay.
Is what it comes out to. And then of course you could increase the costs if on average everyone's doing that much. So you can also charge whatever amount you want in a 3-month cycle. So I was thinking that we could do $15 for 3 months and have the extra money go towards funding Together Tech projects. Now, we do have some of the kind of fiscal problems with that, is that it'll be tied to someone's account. The one I created is, of course, tied to my account, has my credit card on it. So if someone sits on video for 3 months, then I would be billed for that. But
yeah.
also, also
That
any extra,
yeah.
Also if any extra funds come out, that would go to my account too. So we'd have to do something to kind of like manage, we had 4 people paying $15 a month and this was the charge, and what are we doing with that extra money? How do we make sure that I don't just go to Cancun on it? Oh, that's a good idea. I think I did GameB.KikoChat.com. We could change it to get together tech.KikoChat.com. So this is just, I was using the other one as the demo because there was more people in there, but right now it's just me because no one has this. And you have to create an ID and you'd have to actually pay to get in. And then
So
of course,
pay to
I know.
Sorry, when
Yeah.
you say pay, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, we could make it free, but then my credit card would be billed for all the video hours. But all the community tools are pretty much free. And there's a lot more you can do than this video chat. I just want to kind of show that feature because that's what people were talking about. And then we could look at the other tools and see if there's more that we wanted to do. Anyways, so that's an option. It kind of fits several of our ideas.
What is the security level on this? Kiko.
I know the developer, and it's using Zoom as the back end. So
Zoom is owned by Google now. Is that true? That's what I heard.
I have not heard that. No.
I've not heard that either. I know they've been getting in a lot of security-related trouble recently, but
yes, I know that.
Okay. Yeah. Now, most of their security-related trouble was because they overstated their security stance. And then people were kind of getting in, and because they're people are able to get into your video and stuff like that. But it's not like we're talking about health-related. We shouldn't be doing anything in here. I mean, you don't want it to be public. Like, you don't want people taking videos of you talking in private and going out. But there shouldn't be any PII or PHI in this platform at all.
Right.
So
I think the side issue, though, was they were also sending, even if you didn't have a Facebook account, they were sending information about the meetings and stuff, I guess, that they learned to Facebook. I think they stopped that, but they got in some pretty hot water.
So,
so
Bentley,
they corrected that.
The tool you showed near the beginning that Jonas had made, how much, do you know the price point on that one?
Well,
whether
no
costs Jonas, and whether if we are using it, how much it costs the person, and then how much we would pay for that, because that is 1 cent per minute per person. Doesn't seem like I know when I was using StreamYard and I was just setting up conversations with people in GameB, it was hard to stay under 20 hours a month, and that was only 2 of us, right? Not if you have 10 people and 4 people are watching and 6 people are having a conversation, the 4 people still count, and it can get rather astronomically expensive, especially. Anyway, yes, $15 for 3 months seems like a doable. I would sign up for that, but I know that'll be a sticking point for a lot of people. And if there is a way for us to start for free or for cheap or by donation, where, you know what I mean? If this costs him $100 a month, that actually seems better than 1 cent a minute, because it's per person I'm just wondering.
I don't think the video on his solution is going to have any different pricing models than between the 2 solutions for the video. The actual hosting is negligible.
Zoom API that's going into the back end to this.
I'm sorry?
So it's a Zoom API that people are plugging in.
That's what's in the other one. I don't know what Jonas chose here. And I could probably try and figure it out, but we could probably ask him.
Yeah, I can ask him if he knows the price point on these.
So I wasn't aware that this particular one was also Zoom. I thought it was just a text chat. So they're both.
I believe it has video. I
think
that was his intent. I don't know how far he got, and I don't know. I don't actually see any controls coming up, so maybe he hasn't even put that in. Oh no! Oh yeah. So I'm pulling up the thing to see if I can look in. So I don't know how far he's gotten. I just know he had, when we were first talking, it wasn't even important to have video. It was just helping people get together, and then they would have to figure out their video issues.
Right.
So they'd be limited to 45 minutes Wow, it has a lot of notes coming back in here.
That seems, I mean, not to give other people homework, but if we are able to use Zoom's free option and just, because you can use the URL, we use it for our mega group all the time. We just click on the same one. We just go out and come back in. That it's up to like the group whether they want to pay for a user account or not, rather than it all, because if you're going with Zoom embedded in your technology, then it's always 1 cent per minute per user, and you can't really get the free option or the like group option, right, where you pay $20 a month for unlimited. Or whereas if there is a way to embed that in this, then we get the best of both worlds. But I don't know what Jonas has done or whether that's possible or any of it. So I'll ask Jonas the pricing on it, because that's just.
Yeah. Now the benefit of going with this other thing is that we were talking about having a way to have people contribute monthly to this, and I don't think there's any way in the world that the video costs would go above, unless we have a bad actor, like we said, and then we kick that person out. But I don't think there's a chance that the video costs would go above, and we could make it whatever we want. You know, it could be $9 for 3 months. It could be $15 for 3 months. It could be anything. But then we've already kind of started our next step in the process of having people choose to donate money on a regular basis to get to Together Tech, so we can start doing something with it. Now, I don't know if we're ready for it, but they have a funding model that you can do that with these other systems. Well, I don't know. So Jonas would then have to set up a whole billing system.
Yeah. The whole thing.
That's the thing with KikoChat, is the billing's kind of built in. Now, it's not as flexible as I wanted. It'd be nice if we could send people and give them a free month.
Yeah, the trial.
But I can talk to him and see if we can get that type of stuff put in.
I haven't played with it yet. I know Knack also has some built-in, some billing stuff, and you can charge people and credit cards and whatnot. So that,
Knack.
And then if we wanted to do that, Patreon's also an option, like for Together Tech, just to do like the monthly donation things. But then that probably wouldn't be related to KikoChat. That would just be to fund whatever we end up doing with it, whether it's KikoChat or custom development or what.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think it's. Sorry, go back.
You just have the issue with getting the funds moved around to the right place.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, I'm not sure how the name alignment works. Technically, WikiLection is incorporated and has a bank account. So, I mean, if we're just wanting to like keep it out of people's personal accounts, I'm not sure.
Then it's getting in Wiki's account, and then it's
right. Yeah, there's still like the tracking part, which I'm definitely not signing up for because I'm not a big fan of accounting and all that jazz. But just saying, like, if if we're trying to keep it out of people's personal accounts for tax, stuff like that. That's why I set up WikiLection.
And I think the point where we have like right now, StreamYard works for us to have our conversations, right? Because there's under 6 of us.
Yeah.
Once you can even go on to Zoom and it's more about the coordination and doing those things. I really like Jonas's one. I also really like KikoChat, but Jonas's one is even more. It feels to me more intuitive, more of like, oh, it's just a list of rooms I can join, rather than the other one looked, I don't know, it felt less like going.
Yeah, it's not trying to be a full ecosystem. It's just really purpose-driven. It's this one thing.
Yeah.
It looks like he's using jitsi.org, which they say is a completely free video conferencing. So he may have found an option.
Okay.
Free sounds good. And then getting money, until we need money, right? Like that portion of it, though.
I'm just saying, free is very bad. Free services is bad game A, not necessarily game B, because they're not giving it to you out of being polite. Right?
Why is it free is the question.
Right. Yeah. But go ahead.
It's a very
fair enough. To say before we're getting money from people, the only is transparency on why are we asking for money, where is it going, and I don't think there's a problem with this. Costs us $9 every 3 months, and we're getting 15 because 6 is going into here. What we're doing with that, we don't know yet. We'll know in the future. Yeah. The other issue is the logistics of we need a bank account for Together Tech, and there has to be signers, and we have to figure that out and do that portion of it, which at the moment probably makes sense that Adriel, just because Adriel and I are both in this, we need 2 people that are signers in the same logistical location But even then, we're actually not that close together.
Yeah, if we can get 3, we can incorporate it as a society, and then there's no tax. So that's an option. I was going to do that.
But we need a third BC person. Like, that's the point, is like you can't have people all over the States and Canada and Australia and like all these things aren't designed for
another Canadian might be okay. I think you have to be the majority BC, but I think it actually might be okay for them to be. I guess, I believe it's over half has to be in BC for a BC society. And technically, we could do a federal one, but that's just a bit harder on the paperwork side.
My point is just like the logistics of we need money to go in an account, we need accounting, we need that, and then the actual transparency of here's where we're at, this is why we're asking for money, this is where it's going, and it can be as easy as a spreadsheet, right? Like, yes, we thought we would have this much Zoom time, we've actually used this much, we're in the red, we're in the green, we're in, you know, like showing that this is the case instead of how can we
in the finances.
Just being transparent, which to me is very GameB. Like, it's how we get to GameB is through
and that. Around that time is probably when we'll start getting deeper into what would you need to trust an organization that was, doing the kind of things that we say we're doing and standing for what we say we stand for. What does that mean if, you trust us or don't trust us? Why?
Yeah. One other option is, I don't know how hard it'd get to get set up, is if we could get into Open Collective, which is mostly for open source software, but they end up being the fiduciary. It's their bank account. And then as people do things, you submit an invoice, and that invoice is all tracked and it's all open source. So anyone can then look and see where the funds are going. Anyone can submit an invoice, and then we would approve. So there's no tax issues. So it's fully open source. That'd be great. The problem is usually you have to have an open source software project, although they say they handle other stuff. Anyway, so if we're going to spend time looking into it, I would include that as well, because that sounds a lot easier if we can get past their hurdle.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a very good option. I think we looked into it before. Yeah, seemed like the most viable option. Although, like, this tool we looked at, the one Adriel did, isn't open source, right? Like, it also is like our intention is to make one that is open source at some point in time. It's just not there yet, and we're using the tools to the best of our ability. I don't know if they care about that, right? I don't know if that's under their bureaucracy.
Jonas's one is technically open source. It's already on GitHub, and anyone can see it. So we could put that under a group name of Together Tech in GitHub and then apply. But normally you need over 100 people. They used to have it. They've changed the website some. 100 people star the project before they'll even look at it. But
well, we have 88 GameB projects. We good. There's always the option of like, hey, and GameB itself. But I think could I go and star it? Do I have to be a coder or be someone who's actually...
No, I mean, technically you just have to create an account at GitHub and star it, I think. Although if they look at that, it's a whole bunch of non-developers. And I want to make sure that we're doing it. It's designed for open source software, but I think they also had it for open source software or nonprofits. So even though we're technically not either, we fit the goal of what they're trying to do. It's just whether they would believe us or not. I don't know.
Yeah. And I mean, if we incorporate it as a society, I think that's arguable.
Yeah, that would definitely
a nonprofit, and then we're
it's near the end of our hours. Probably a good time to mention that I will not be here tomorrow for the Saturday morning conversation. I did make the StreamYard and posted it in the group, but won't be here because I have a conversation with somebody Jordan put me in touch with at 10. And so I was like, okay, I'm doing my thing at 8:30. At 9, it'll be way too much. Right. So with someone who's on the DAO stack, and his project is a community app on the DAO stack that they're creating, and it's called Community, and it's supposed to be out in June. And so I'm looking forward to our conversation. I will clearly know more about that as of tomorrow after our...
Cool. Well, we're doing call outs for tomorrow. Bentley or Susan, are either one of you interested in being the second talking head in the Wiki election live stream? It's on politics, so like politicians, elections, political parties.
Sure. What time is it again? Just to...
It is noon Pacific, so 1 your time.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be there. What do you mean by second talking head? Do I have to prep
like
for
this?
Like
no. So how it works? It'll kind of be similar to the first part. I'll share my screen and sort of go through the slide deck. I've got like kind of three sections to it where I cycle between the three different topics. And if it's anything like the one I did with Ed Mulder on, I think we started on like sort of scientific discussion, but we ended up talking about the whole thing. Like I showed the different slides and talked about it, and that seemed to really help. And it's kind of interesting to play with, like, here's the starting point of the conversation that frames most of it, but it's all interrelated. That's why it has these three kind of very separate feature sets. They all bleed into each other.
Cool.
I'm
looking forward to it.
Yeah,
I might be able to make it. What time zone compared to this? Because did you say noon your time? So
noon Pacific, yeah. So I think that's 2 Central.
Okay. Yeah.
And I do them every other week. So the one that I had somebody already joined was the science one, which is fine if somebody wants to join that one again. I did one on news, and I think no one what was there for. That was about 2 weeks ago. And then tomorrow will be politics, and then I just cycled through those 3 topics every 2 weeks. So if it's not tomorrow, it could be a later one too. But
I can make it tomorrow. I'll be a second head.
Okay, perfect.
Do you have a link for that, or are you going to post
yeah, I can send you the link. I'll send it after because I'm in StreamYard now, so I don't want to confuse it by going into.
Put it on the Facebook page, whatever works.
Sure, yeah, I can do that.
I can also send Brad the link for tomorrow because we've been talking on Twitter. So
cool.
He's the one who was joined last time, and I also want to reach out to him because our next solution raising this Wednesday live at 8:30 is on packaging, so he might be interested.
Okay, nice. I'll be interested to watch that one later. That one should be cool.
Packaging and materials. All right. And I'll put the event on the other one.
Right.
Won't put all of my live events in the morning, but the ones on Wednesday are specific to solution raising. So those ones I will. And update that. All right. Is there any more closing statements, or should we say goodbye to YouTube and Facebook?
Fine for me.
I'm good.
All right.
All right. I'll end it.
Some of us will see you